Good morning. I'm Kent Smoll, past chair of the Kansas Board of Accountancy and the founding partner of Smoll and Banning CPAs in Dodge City, Kansas. I'm really happy to be here. During the past 2 years, I've served as NASBA's treasurer and as chair of NASBA's administration and finance. What do we do? NASBA's bylaws establish the administration and finance as a standing committee reporting to the board of directors. The role assigned to the administration and finance is that it shall oversee and monitor the fiscal operations of the association. How do we do that? The committee fulfilled its responsibility by working with the management and the board of directors as follows. During fiscal year 2014, the committee met 4 times with the executive, operational, and financial. It broke. Just a second. Gosh. We met 4 times with the operational group. Additionally, we have an investment committee, and it's a subcommittee of the A&F. The subcommittee met 7 times, and it's comprised of Vicki Petit, CFO, Michael Bryant, and myself. Additionally, we had occasional meetings with our investment advisor. The committee also reviewed the operating and capital budgets for fiscal 2015. The committee then reviewed the insurance coverage and management's assessment of the risk to the board. During the independent audit, the A&F committee and management met to review the results for the year and the first draft of the audit financial statements. And there was a lot of change this year between what the A&F did and what the audit committee did. And we worked very well with Rick Isserman. And I want to congratulate Rick and Vicki and Dave for their awards. And I just have one question, Vicki. How did you make it to the meetings? Harry always got lost. So. As A&F chairman and NASBA treasurer, I report quarterly to the board of directors along with senior vice president and CFO Michael Bryant on the financial and fiscal matters of NASBA and the committee's recommendation regarding investment policy changes or significant finance and accounting related matters. Through these activities, the A&F committee fulfilled its charge overseeing NASBA's fiscal operations. As chair, I have the pleasure of giving the fiscal 2014 financial overview. You will find it in your materials, and you should have all received a financial statement. And it starts on page 49 with the audit report. About 5 years ago, Walter Davenport stood up here. NASBA had its first year where it exceeded $1 million in revenue, or $1 million of net revenue over the program expenses. He stood up here and said they had an outstanding year. I'm here to report to you that we had a freaking awesome year. In fact, it's the best year in terms of operations and in how it was used to resources to forward our mission. Before I give the review, I'd like to thank the other members of the committee. And the committee members were Walter Davenport from North Carolina, Rocky Duckworth from Texas, Peter DeOlive from Alabama, David Miller from Mississippi, and Vicki Petit from Oklahoma. It is really a pleasure to report on the financial statements. As you can see from this slide, and I'm going to cover them kind of quickly, but the revenues this year were almost flat. They were only 0.4% greater than they were the year before. But the expenses were down 3.1%. This led to an increase in the net income for the year of about $800,000, which was great. When you add that to the previous year, you're going to see that this year's net revenue was $3.3 million, and that's reflected on your financial statement, I believe, on page 50. Although overall expenses were down, overall spending on state board supported activities were actually up over prior year in absolute dollars. Most notably, there was a 4% increase in the amount of those resources that were devoted to board regulation and public perception and protection activities. These expenditures represent the core elements of support to boards of accountancy, that is, legislative tracking, state board relations, and accountancy licensing, to name just a few. When you look at the additional expenses that were allocated towards support of state boards, you'll see that those included such things as travel, and they were actually down in the prior, as compared to the prior year. And that's primarily because there were two conferences that were not held this year, that were held in prior years. When you look at those together, you're going to see that the amount that was spent on support of state boards was over $7.7 million. When you add that to the, as part of the net income, you can see that the net income that we reported, the 3.3, does not include the revenue of the investments. The investments were substantial again this year. The investments added about $1.8 million to the bottom line, bringing NASBA's total support and increase in net assets to $5.1 million versus 4.8. And that's what's freaking awesome. You know, the net investment, if you compare it on the actual long-term and short-term funds that were invested, we actually had about $2.3 million in investment income, which was about a 10% return. The other is the amount that we record as an equity from our 20% owned subsidiary, PCS, which was sold back in 2011. So that's how we get to the 1.8. But 5.1 is still the significant number. When you look at the net assets, and this is total net assets in NASBA, this is a 5-year chart. You can see that they've grown from 17.3 back in 2010 to 38.1 in 2014. If you look at 2010 to 2011, you'll note that there was a pretty significant jump. Well, that was from the sale of PCS. The Administration and Finance Committee is pleased to serve the association this year, and as chair, I'm very pleased to report to you the financial results of fiscal year 2014 and to express confidence in the organization's commitment to its mission. Just like the theme of the annual meeting, I can say from firsthand experience that they believe in supporting the mission and relevance of the members of boards of accountancy. I commend the management and financial staff of the organization for their hard work, stewardship, and commitment to the mission. And Mr. Chair, that is the report.
Thank you, Kent.